The Microsoft Surface Pro 9 is the latest flagship tablet from Microsoft. For the first time, they combine the Intel version and the Surface Pro X in one device. So you can get the Pro 9 with an Intel processor or with an ARM chipset. Just the internal hardware has changed compared to the Pro 8, and that's why we will start this review with exactly that. You can get the Pro 9 with the 12th generation Intel Core i5 or Core i7 processor, or with the Microsoft SQ3 ARM chipset that they developed together with Qualcomm. You can choose between 8GB up to 32GB of RAM, as well as between a 128GB up to 1TB SSD. While only the ARM version supports 5G, you can quickly and easily swap out the SSD yourself on all of them. My Surface Pro 9 is the cheapest version for $1,000 or 1,300 euros with a Core i5, 8GB of RAM and a 256GB SSD. As you can see, it is not cheap because I spent $1,279 or 1,479 euros with keyboard and pen. It's interesting that Microsoft has not raised the price as much as Apple. The 12.9-inch iPad Pro costs $1,099 or 1,449 euros without accessories and $1,570 or 2,027 euros with Magic Keyboard and Pencil. So the Surface Pro 9 is cheaper than the iPad Pro, at least the 12.9-inch version. In benchmarks like Geekbench 5 and the 3D Mark Wildlife test, it's also weaker than the Apple tablet, and noticeably so. At the same time, it's only slightly more powerful than last year's Surface Pro 8. So it's the fastest Windows tablet on the market, but only by a small margin. My video render test confirms the benchmarks. It renders a 9-minute 4K video only slightly faster than the Surface Pro 8 in Adobe Premiere Rush. At the same time, the iPad Pro and Air are faster, and the iPad 10 is just about as fast. I recommend the Pro 9 more as an office tablet for someone who wants a premium device with Windows. It's well suited for Microsoft Office, including Excel and OneNote, but also Google Chrome and comparable apps. Even with intensive multitasking, everything runs quickly and smoothly. Of course, you can also install and use more sophisticated programs like Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. Both work well, and yes, even when using the stylus. But for intensive Photoshop work, and even more so if you want to edit videos with Premiere Pro or so, I recommend choosing at least 16GB of RAM. If you don't necessarily want to play Windows games, then I would not recommend it as a gaming tablet. However, you can still play games on the Surface Pro 9, of course. I tried Apex Legends and it runs smoothly with default settings and 720p resolution. The frame rate is between 30 and 60 FPS. I also think it's playable when I turn up the resolution to 900p. Then it's mostly between 25 and 40 FPS, which is only too slow for demanding gamers. However, the graphics performance is too weak for a Full HD resolution, because then the frame rate often drops below 24 FPS. As usual, the tablet gets very warm when gaming, and you can also hear the active fans. Such games as well as Adobe Premiere Pro or Rush work with the Intel version only. Many games and also some traditional Windows programs do not run on the ARM version, and this can include drivers for some accessories. Others, like Google Chrome and Adobe Photoshop, run in an emulator and perform much worse as a result. On the ARM version of Windows, the system itself as well as Microsoft Office and many apps from the Microsoft Store run flawlessly. In general though, programs you download from the internet will only run emulated. I opted for the Intel version because I recently tested a Windows ARM tablet with the Xiaomi Book S12.4. It's a bit weaker, but the problems are basically the same. I think it's a real shame that only the ARM version has 5G. But I think most people who buy a Windows tablet want to use normal Windows 11 and not the ARM version. The ARM version can be interesting if you need 5G, love the Windows interface and the Microsoft apps, but don't want to install any or almost no traditional Windows programs. For everyone else, I recommend the Intel version because it behaves just like a traditional Windows PC or laptop. The Pro 9 looks almost exactly like its predecessor. Microsoft no longer uses magnesium alloy. Instead, the case is completely made of aluminum. I have the green version, but you can also get it in light gray, dark gray and blue. Without accessories, it's 879 grams and 9.3mm thin. You can tell it looks like a typical Microsoft tablet, and it's very well made. On the back there's a kickstand that you can smoothly extend very far. There's no micro SD card slot underneath it anymore. It has been missing since the last generation, sadly. Instead you can easily replace the built-in SSD, which is nice. At the top is the power button, the volume rocker, and you can see how elegantly the active fans are hidden in the body. On the left, the Surface Connect port allows you to charge it with the included power adapter, and you can also use it to connect accessories like the Surface Dock. On the other side, we get two USB-C 4.0 ports with Thunderbolt 4, which you can also use to charge the tablet. You can connect other docks or hubs, external SSDs, but also external monitors via the USB-C port. I often connected a 4K monitor and it works very well with the Pro 9. It is important to know that the ARM version does not support USB-C 4.0, but only USB-C 3.2. On the back is a 10 megapixel camera that can take quite good photos and videos. The 5 megapixel front facing camera is also good, especially for video chats. There we also get an infrared sensor, thanks to which you can unlock it very quickly and securely with Windows Hello facial recognition, even in dark rooms. You can buy the black Surface Pro keyboard and a somewhat higher quality Surface Pro signature keyboard for a bit more. The latter is available in blue, light gray, black, red and green. These are the exact same keyboards that are compatible with the Pro 8 and Pro X. The type covers of the predecessors no longer work. I got the green signature keyboard. These are made of an Alcantara material that feels quite premium. It's connected magnetically to the tablet, so when folded it protects the display. There's room at the top for the slim pen too, which charges it while it's inside. As usual, the keyboard is very well implemented. Since we have such a large display here, the keyboard can be nice and large, making it very comfortable. There's the backlight built in. I consider it to be the best tablet keyboard available. Too bad it's only working with the Surface tablets. The touchpad is made of glass and is relatively large for a tablet keyboard. It's a good one that works flawlessly and of course handles Windows 11's multitask gestures well. The Surface Pro 9 has a 13-inch display that Microsoft calls the Pixel Sense Flow Screen. It has an aspect ratio of 3:2, which is very good for office work. The resolution is nice and high at 2880 by 1920 pixels and everything looks sharp. I also like that it supports 120Hz, which makes animation and drawing with the Slim Pen 2 look very smooth. Overall, it's a very good display with good color reproduction, high contrast, and wide viewing angles. It's fully laminated, of course. At 450 nits, it's pretty bright for a Windows tablet, but just a bit darker than an iPad Air. Still, I was able to work well with it outdoors. If you're especially looking for an entertainment tablet, I'd rather choose one with Android or a cheaper iPad for cost reasons. But if you want, you can watch Netflix or YouTube with the Pro 9 thanks to the good display. The two speakers on the sides of the display are surprisingly good as well. Not as good as on an iPad Pro, but definitely good enough for watching movies. You can get the Surface Pro 9 with a Slim Pen 2, which you can buy for $130 or euros. It's important to note here that the Slim Pen 2 alone won't work with the tablet, as you will need to charge it somehow. This is either done via the keyboard cover, which I recommend anyway, or via a separate charger. That one you've got to buy extra. Alternatively, it's also compatible with the first Slim Pen and the Surface Pen. So if you have a predecessor, you can use exactly the same pens on the Pro 9. The Slim Pen 2 is newer and a bit better. You can draw better with it, you no longer must change batteries, and it gives haptic feedback. There's a vibration motor built into the pen that only vibrates very gently, but that makes it feel more like you are writing on paper sometimes. At least that's the idea behind it. Especially with OneNote, the Pro 9 is great for writing down handwritten notes. That is exactly what the Slim Pen 2 seems to be made for. Thanks to the 120Hz display, the pen responds very quickly and the digital ink appears almost immediately. I have also used the pen in Adobe Photoshop and that works great. Ultimately, the Pro 9 is a good choice if you want to use an active pen. However, this was already the case with the predecessor. There are no changes here. In my battery test, the Pro 9 got a runtime of a rather weak 4.5 hours. For this, a YouTube HD video always runs at maximum brightness in the Chrome browser and at 120Hz in an endless loop. It's possible to get over 6 hours with office work, but only with 60Hz and when you reduce the display brightness a bit. My conclusion is clear. The Microsoft Surface Pro 9 is an excellent tablet and in my opinion the best Windows tablet at the moment. It offers the latest Intel processors, a very high quality design, a good display as well as a great keyboard and pen. It's especially interesting if you want to use Windows 11 and are looking for a high quality tablet, especially for office tasks. Sure, Photoshop and other demanding programs run as well, but the more you want to use such apps, it makes sense to choose the more expensive models with better hardware. I wouldn't buy the ARM version, and I think it's only interesting for a very small target group. If I am going to choose Windows, I want 100% traditional Windows. Otherwise, I would rather go for an iPad or Android tablet. If you already have the Surface Pro 8, then there's no point in upgrading, because they're almost the same tablet. And if you find a good offer for the Pro 8, I would also take the savings and go for the Pro 8. The most exciting alternative is of course the new Apple iPad Pro with the M2 chipset, which I also just tested. In fact, the processor performance is clearly superior to the Pro 9. If you don't need Windows, be sure to check out my review of it. Apple has improved a lot in recent years, so it's a very interesting choice even for Pro users.